Hi again, my name is Kelly, one of the educators with Bywater Solutions, and I'm joined here with Donna, who will be monitoring my Q&A and jumping in if necessary or if she'd love to. We are going to go over some of the 1805 upgrade features or enhancements or maybe some bug fixes that we've all been waiting for. And we're going to start, maybe I'll start at 2:02, give a few more minutes for people to start coming in. I lost my, we're now at 60, so that's better. It's only a little bit like halfway to what we had registered, so I hate to. Again, I am recording this webinar, so if somebody does come in late, you can watch the beginning parts on our YouTube channel, and I'll also put this on my on our website. Which, who has seen our new website? Who has looked at it? George, good. Oh, yay, Ron, yay. And what do you think? You can raise your hand again if you like it. Yay, good. Good, thanks. Good, thank you, thank you. Good. Okay, well, I will get started because I appreciate everyone has a very busy schedule in their life and do have things to do besides listen to me or wait for me to start my webinar. So again, welcome everybody. My name is Kelly. I am one of the educators with Bywater Solutions. I am here to show you some of the highlights of the 1805 Koha version that's coming in November to a staff client near you, and we're so excited to show you some of these. I was going through some of the release notes in the last few weeks as I get ready for these, and just a few numbers for all those number people out there. The 1805 straight up release includes 12 new features, 257 enhancements, and 360 bug fixes. So can I get a shout out for all the developers, all the people that push patches, test these bugs? This is amazing work. I'm so impressed. I certainly, yes, good, thank you. Raise your hands, raise them up. I cannot, look, you guys can see my screen, it's all raised hands. I can certainly not cover every one of those. I'm going to encourage you to go to our Bywater website or the Koha community website to look at those release notes. There's probably about 40 pages of release notes and amazing work done by people all over the world. And now I want to stay on my soapbox for one more minute and to say you too can help Koha grow and become better by either submitting a bug, commenting on a bug, talking to somebody about a question or an issue, or attending KohaCon or HackFest and get excited to make this better, because I myself used Koha before I started working for Bywater, and I had no idea that a librarian's voice was so loud. So I can tell you right now, your voice is very loud, and we have amazing people. Actually, just today in our Slack channel, I mentioned that I found a bug that is actually quite a few years old, but still relevant. And immediately one of our developers like, let's fix it. Let's do something about this because this is kind of severe. So again, your voice can be heard. So I'm going to cover what I feel are fun enhancements, fun new features. But again, the release notes are on our website and on the Koha community page for you to browse, and maybe some nighttime reading because they're quite long. I'm sharing my screen to show you that we do have our upgrade webinar schedule on our website. Melissa has sent out a couple partner blasts, but again, remember to register for these. We are recording them. We will post them on our website. We have so let me go ahead, and I'm sure you have this already. Oops. I'm not used to this black bar being over here. I'm going to put this in the in the chat box, and then I'm going to pop over to our 1805 upgrade notes. Like I said, here's your release notes. Here is a link to your manual, so if you want to update your bookmarks on your computer, and then there is the ever popular schema. So again, I'm going to go ahead and post that into chat so everyone can have a copy of that or a direct link. As you can see, as I scroll down a little bit, we already have some blog posts and or videos up for the 1805 upgrade. We will add more as we want to highlight some of the features or enhancements that we feel need that extra love, and there are a few more steps than just turn this on or turn this off. As I'm going to go back, just a heads up, we are having another What's New tomorrow. You can come through here and hit any of those registration links. We're having 2 of every module. We're going to just do 1 hour for these modules. I can say right now, the OPAC has not gotten a lot of love in the 1805 version, so I may end up throwing some more features in the OPAC and public user services, like for circulation and patrons, just because there's not a ton there, but I want to utilize all the time that I can have with you to upsell these 1805 features. After we do these webinars, they'll be here in this recorded webinar session. We also have a link to a lot of the bugs and features here on this upgrade note page. So you can also get here, but I encourage you, this release notes is a good resource to have, as well as the manual. I asked a little bit earlier just to see if anyone had looked at our new website, and I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about our new website because it is different functionality, but I want you to be able to find what you're looking for. And if you do have any troubles navigating, please send us an email and let us know, because of course we want this to work for you 100%. From my point of view as the education, I want you to know that we have our own tab here. So our education team has this this direct link. You can always search education for any of our blog posts by keyword if you wanted to. We also have some categories here. So we have the how-to. So any of our blog posts that are just something that we as educators have noticed that a lot of tickets are coming through about, or we wanted to highlight something that people are doing, we have it in the how-to. And then we have the Koha upgrade. So this is where you're going to be able to find those release notes for 1805, 1711. Koha on demand, that's where you're going to see all our videos, recorded webinars, we have our tutorial videos, and then we have our videos for patrons, Koha material, or any of our documents, training documents, things like that. Remember, we have a YouTube channel. You can always register or subscribe, I guess you could call it, to notify you whenever we have a new video out. And we do love for recommendations of what you'd love to see. So please don't be shy. I just want to say that this is a great website, and hopefully everyone likes it too. You can see down, we haven't forgotten ourselves. We have our demo here. So the 1805 Koha release is on our demo. So after you leave here today and you're so excited to see something, please feel free to go out onto that demo and give it a shot. And then we also, one last thing, this is me, I'm like, I don't even know, I don't know where our pictures are, but somewhere our pictures are still here. There we are, here we are. We all went to KohaCon and had our pictures redone, so they're all updated, so we all look very much like we do now. I did want to say that I have Donna here. She's moderating the Q&A and the chat. If you have a question as I go through this, please, if you think about it, put it in the Q&A, because then everyone can see it. If you put it in the chat, make sure that you send it to panelists and attendees so everyone sees their question. Okay, so without further ado, I did want to say, Jerry, I see you raising your hand. Can you put it in your question in the chat? There's no microphones for all the attendees, or in the Q&A box, and I'd be happy to help. Okay, upgrades are going to start on your staff clients in November. As per usual, these will continue through the month. All upgrades will start after 8 o'clock your local time, and Larry will populate your staff client with a little notice to tell you when your upgrade date is, so you're well aware of it way ahead of time. If you were like me, I put Post-its on everyone's computers, because what do we need to do? We need to clear the cache. So that Monday morning, that Tuesday morning, you come in and you're ready to rock and roll, and you know you had your update last night. Please go ahead and clear that cache. Okay. Okay, here we go. I didn't see a question, so I'm going to continue on, but if anyone has any questions, somebody did raise their hand, I'll certainly address that. Okay. Jerry wants to know the menu. Okay, let me go back to the website. Menu on the new Bywater site has education selection. Then under services, there's training. I would direct anybody to, Jerry, I would direct anybody to our actual education menu option. This is actually a service. So what Bywater does for libraries, for any potential people that are looking at our website to potentially have us support them, that would be that service. What our services is and are in the training and education standpoint. But anyone looking for information on how to do something as you're struggling and you can't find your answer in the manual, or you need more help, I would go to this education straight up and then search by keyword, or go ahead and search by the category to the how-to. I hope that helps. Yes, that could be confusing. I agree. Okay. So I'm going to start in the OPAC. Again, like I said, there's not a great deal of love for the 1805 upgrades. However, I feel like with 1711, we did get this amazing OPAC dashboard, which I love. So we take just, a little bit of everybody. All the modules, they all need some love in these versions. So here I am. I'm logged into my OPAC. And I wanted to show you some of the new features and enhancements that we have on the OPAC. We have now the ability to tag in emojis. So this was a development brought to us by a independent school, Hotchkiss School, and they wanted to allow their students and patrons to tag items with emojis. So if your library does have the functionality of tagging turned on, so that is a system preference, tags enabled, or tags enabled, you would have that turned on to allow your patrons to tag. There are a few other system preferences like moderating those tags, if you want to moderate those, and if you go ahead and search in your system preferences for tags, you'll see all the others. If this is turned on your system, this is something that your patrons can actually use emojis to tag. So let's go ahead and grab one of these. Let's grab this one. I'm going to grab one of the items on my OPAC, and you have the ability, and this is another system preference, to tag from the detail screen, which is this screen, or from the results screen. So if I were to search wing on a flea, and I had all those results, I do have the ability to tag there as well. Make this come back over here. There we go. So here we go. If I have this add tag feature, which everyone, if you haven't enabled or is familiar with, I now have this little smiley face way over to the right. And if I click this, then the emojis will load, and I can actually go ahead and pick one of the emojis and tag this. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, this is great. So there we go. I'm going to pick my emoji tag and go ahead and add that. You will see emojis on the staff client if you do moderate your tags to go ahead and approve those. So this is just a new feature that's kind of fun and will probably align with our 21st century world to be able to add emoji tags on items in our catalog. This is a great new feature if this is something that you feel is fun, or if your library allows tags. I have a question here. How do you remove an emoji? If you tagged an emoji, depends. If I was a staff and I was moderating those, I could reject a tag of an emoji. If I personally wanted to take a emoji tag that I put on, I can do that from my account page. So from the patrons account, if I go up to my name and I go to my account page on the OPAC, I can go to my tags, and you're going to see a lot because I played around with this a lot. I can actually see the tags, and I can easily, if I wanted to, go ahead and delete them. So if you moderate them, if this is something that you want to do and you've never moderated tags in the past and you've just let them kind of populate themselves, you could always turn on the moderation itself, which is the system preference. Let's pop over to the staff client. We're going to go over to the Koha administration page. Okay, so we have tags moderation, require or don't require. And then, like I said, there are two different places you can go ahead and add tags, whether that's on the results list or the detail list. Once I'm on the main page, if this is a new feature for your libraries and you are setting this up because you're so excited to see emojis, you would go into the staff client and you can actually see, just like you see your purchase suggestions, I have a discharge here waiting. I have this tags pending approval waiting for me to go ahead and approve or reject those. So I can easily approve or reject a tag. I can look at what's been approved in the past. And I love the fact that after somebody's approved it, I could still reject it because maybe somebody else has a higher say than I do. So this is just a nice new little feature. Okay, I am going to stay in the OPAC, and with the serials module, if libraries are using the serials module and you are using the routing list feature, and that is enabled by the system preference routing serials, whether that's enabled or not, where you use routing lists to alert a patron when a new serial has arrived. On the OPAC now, your patron can actually see the routing list they're attached to versus it just being all on the staff side. So again, if your library did use routing lists, did use the serials module, did have the system preference routing serials turned on, your patrons now have the ability to see any routing lists that they're attached to. Now I know some libraries, as you can see, here's my routing list. I went to my account page. Some libraries use routing lists, but only for specific patron categories versus everybody. There is nothing that I can do from the screen other than to see what serials I'm attached to via a routing list. So if for some reason your patron category teen doesn't have routing lists attached to them, but you do it for faculty or residents, they would still have that routing list feature because it's enabled on your library, but they wouldn't see anything here unless they were clicked. I can't actually make any changes. I can't remove myself from this routing list. From here, I can just see what serial I'm attached to and click over to it. And if I wanted to make any changes, I would actually need to call the library. So just a nice way to feature and communicate things between us and our patrons. Okay, another feature for serials in the OPAC, I'm going to click over to this subscription that this library has, the New Yorker. Oh, I can see some tags. I went a little tag happy when I was testing this. We now have the ability to actually see the publication date as well as the receive date in the subscription tab. So here I am, I'm on the New Yorker subscription bib record, and I have the holdings tab, and I also have a subscription. So again, if you are using the serials module for your libraries, you would have the subscription tab, and I can see the most recent volumes. I can see the receive date status. Now, prior to this, I could only see the receive date, not the publication date. And the publication date is probably more important to patrons than the receive date, because sometimes what if we didn't receive for a month, or they were delayed in the mail, and you actually want to say that this is actually the January issue, not the August issue. So this little new column is for publication date. Now, as we saw in our last 1711 upgrade, the column configuration is becoming a huge hit in the staff client. So if anyone remembers what we did there, this is also configured through that column configuration in the staff client. So I'm going to pop over to the staff client. I'm going to go back to my main page, go into Koha administration, configure columns. We actually just had a call about this the other day with support. Into my OPAC. And now I have here, so if I wanted to not actually show the published date, I could hide that. If I wanted to hide any of these, this is where I would go ahead and do that. You can see we had a call the other day about holds, and they didn't want their patrons to see the holds in the OPAC, so that's easily hidden by this item hold. So it's good to remember we have this configure column, which in the 1711 brought a shelving location as a whole nother column, which was hallelujah. We have a shelving column on the OPAC, but this is also where you can go to maybe hide that barcode if you didn't want to see it. I'm not sure why I have the enumeration hidden. But that's what I have hidden. I have a question from a librarian. Which column is the receive date? The receive date is the one that's always showing. That's not something that's configurable, I guess. However, if that's something you want to be able to toggle on and off, I would go ahead and put in a bug. Make it happen. Not everything is going to show up in your configure columns. There are some things that are hard-coded in there. Any other questions? I have one more, and this is a really sad one. This is just, you know, one of those sad moments. Oh, there is a bug. Somebody has shared a bug with us about that.
Nope, not sharing a bug, just posting the link to Bugzilla so people can go in there and make suggestions.
Thank you, Donna. I thought it was like, I'm like, it's bug number 3? That's pretty impressive. Okay, so I am going to show you what is so sad, and as educators going out and showing Koha, you have the ability, once your patrons are in a result on the OPAC, they have the ability to share through Facebook, LinkedIn, they could email it, they could tweet it, and prior to the 1805 release, we had Delicious. And as of 1805, Delicious has been removed from the social sharing on your OPAC. I just read an article that Google Plus will be discontinuing as well, so maybe that will be the next thing we get rid of. I have seen a bug in the community to add Pinterest and Instagram to our social media sharing abilities. So who knows? Times they are changing. Okay, enough about the OPAC. We're going to jump into the staff client, get into maybe the fun nitty gritty for people. Okay, we have a new Koha standalone self-check-in tool that's available. So just like Koha has a checkout module, we now have a check-in module. This was a development by one of our public libraries, Plano, and hope everyone is excited as we are, because this is a great tool. You could just set up a computer, go ahead and use this feature to have users check their items in. So as with every new feature development enhancements, there is probably a system preference or 2 or 5. Let's pop over to our Koha administration, and I'm just going to type in self-check-in, because we know we have self-checkout. So we also have self-check-in. For all those that actually don't use just the searching ability to type in, I urge you to go ahead and try, because I find that I get a lot of the results right away instead of searching through the tabs. However, I do always try to notice what tab it would be located under. So here I have circulation preferences, and the self-check-in module will pop up there. So as you can see, I have self-check-in main user block. So this is how I can edit or use any HTML on my self-check-in screen. I have the way to enable or disable the self-check-in module. I have the self-check-in timeout, so how long the screen will be up for self-check-in. And then I have my user CSS and my user JSS, so I can customize the look of my self-check-in for my library, which we all love the ability to customize that. Just like with the self-checkout, if anyone hasn't done the self-checkout module or are not familiar, this enable will give you the end part of the URL that you will attach so you can access this website. So I would go ahead and add this part to my public OPAC, and I would be able to get to my self-check-in screen. So my public OPAC is this train2.testbywatersolutions.com. And then I add the CGI and I get my self-check-in module.
So we have 2 questions,
Yep.
one in Q&A and one in chat, both basically asking the same thing about how do we handle holds when somebody has checked something in and there's a hold on that item?
Great question. Great question. I actually don't know what happens. I never triggered a hold. Let's go grab one and see what happens. I have a hold in my holds. Well, holds to maybe, let's put something on hold. Go to my account. Hopefully nothing is overdue. That one's lost. Oh, the Lego Batman. Let's put this on hold. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Does Andrew want this Lego Batman? Do you think, Donna? Probably. Oh, he can't place.
I'm sure he does.
He just raised his hand. Of course, it's a game, so we can't have anything on hold. Oh, those darn circulation and fine rules get you every time. I'm sure that. Oh, this one's over. Birdie. Oh, okay. Very hungry caterpillar. One is lost on my account. Okay, it's on hold. Perfect. Here we go. I don't think that's a good thing. The one I checked in? It is not even triggering the hold. Good question, Mary Beth. She wonders if it's checked in, will it show up in the holds queue? Yeah, but I would think that it would show up in to maybe trigger to send it to the circulation desk or a staff member. Thank you, Micah. Once you scan the barcode, you have to hit check-in. Oh, I still did it. It says check-in. Let's hit what happens when I hit finish. We'll go through this whole process again if I've confused everybody. Is it set to claims returned? Nope. Refresh. Well, there's a hold here on my very hungry caterpillar. It has been checked in and it's an item level hold, but it did not trigger my self-check-in module. Maybe we'll continue working on that and find out what. We try another one because it's claims returned, but I don't think that that should matter.
I'm going to go ahead and set one up while you move on, and we can circle back around to it, okay?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Peggy, I grabbed one that was claims returned, but it is on hold. Oh, I got another one. Okay. I was a patron. Here I am, scan the item, hit add, then hit check-in. Hit finish. Nope. Yep, I think that this one will probably need some modifications. This is a great tool, but not one right away if you have a lot of holds on items. And there would be some confidentiality if possibly it did say it was on hold. We wouldn't want it to say it was on hold for somebody. Let me search that catalog one then. Let's see what happened to the one Andrew sent me. This one was the one Andrew sent me that I checked in. It says it's available and there is a hold. Let's check it in from this side. So there is a hold on it. Will it show up on the holds to pull? It could have. Yes, let's go through that one more time. Because we were rushing right to find out to holds. I didn't go through the whole process. So I had another question about check-in, check-out. Let's go ahead and take one. Check this in. So if you do use the self-check-in module, let's go back to that screen. If you do use that self-check-in module, your patron will come up to the self-check-in screen and scan or enter the barcode. So you're going to go ahead and scan that barcode, whether you have a scanner or you're going to have your patrons type in that number, go ahead and hit add, and then yes, you would need to check in. This means that they could do multiple check-ins before they hit check-in versus scanning it and then it checking in individually. So it looks like in the previous time when I did two in the same, I could go ahead and yes, I agree. That might be a little bit, that's one too many clicks probably. But there it is, the barcode checked in, and then I would hit finish, bringing me back to that just scan the item. If that finish button isn't clicked, then that will clear out after that 120 seconds. Now, this could be just like your self-checkout module. This can be logged in with a super librarian's login, or you can use that self-check module, self-check patron that you might have created if you're using the self-checkout module. So this is attached actually to a permission in your staff client. So a lot of libraries, when they're using a self-checkout module, you will use a self-checkout patron to log into these modules that way. So you can see I'm here in my system preferences, and I have that self-checkout module, and I have both the option of logging into the self-check-in module and also performing that self-checkout. So you could use the same one, and that would just match that system preference called Auto Self-Check ID. So we're going to have to research this self-check-in module. This is a great time to say that we will take questions and answers that are brought to us during the webinar, and whether we answered them live or answered them later, we will post those on the website also. So if you don't have time to watch the webinars, but just want to find out what people are asking, we're going to have access to that as well. And if we do realize that this maybe self-check-in module has the functionality of needing a bug or two, we will post that also. One last question. Does it still require the user to have circ permissions? I believe so, Christopher. Yes, just like with your self-checkout module. Well, good. I'm glad everybody is awake and asking great questions. This is great. So we'll find out more about that for you. Okay. I don't know if anyone saw it when I was going over to my holds queue, but maybe those people that were watching really quickly noticed that there is a new look to that circulation module. Did anyone notice that when we went over there? As you can see that it's looking so pretty now. We have little boxes for checkout, check-in. All of the options aren't squished together. So I think this is so pretty looking, and it will probably give your circulation librarians or all those circulation librarians something to smile about on day one, because it's really nice and pretty. Okay, within the Koha, they have created a hierarchical for groups of libraries. Prior to 1805, you could have a group of libraries in kind of name only, and you could set those up in your administration module under libraries and groups. So under here in basic parameters. Now we've actually stretched those out to have libraries, and then we have libraries and groups. So for libraries, I know of a couple consortiums off the top of my head that will have maybe a college which has a branch or two, that they're kind of a group of college libraries, but part of a larger system. And that small group of libraries may interchange material or need to look at patrons within each other, but not necessarily the whole grand consortium itself. So Koha was created a hierarchical group for groups, allowing for a few of the features that we're wanting to be seen through this process. So such as allowing the user, patron, student to search on the OPAC for a group of libraries. So in my college campus process where it's like I have this East group created with an East branch and a Northeast campus. So those two are within the East group. So as a patron, I can just search this East group of libraries versus all the libraries within maybe the consortium that I'm in. Also, this gives the ability to have staff be able to search that group of libraries versus looking at maybe 100 libraries that are part of a consortium, just looking at the subgroup that this user can use. And then finally, allowing for the group of users to only actually see the librarians, the patrons in that group. So for librarians working in the East group, I'd only want to see the people that I'm assisting in my day-to-day versus seeing all 70 other libraries patrons. So that was the scheme of what was developed here. So within the libraries and groups, you can see I have those features to hide the patron's information outside the group, to use it for OPAC searching and staff searching. So I have this East group created of both the East branch and the Northeast campus. So if I go over to my OPAC, I will show you under the advanced search. I have the ability to search that group of libraries here under location and availability. So I could just go ahead and look for that East group of items within that East group. So I have that functionality on both the OPAC and on the staff. So if I go to my search, scroll down a bit, I can see I have my East group that I could just look at what my user is looking for. Now I also have the ability to hide other patrons from other libraries within the staff client. So let me pull up my Firefox over here. Okay. So here, so I don't have to log in or log out, I have this librarian called Howard, and he is at the East branch. So Howard, as he's only part of the East branch, if he were to search for patrons within his system, he only has the ability to search for his group, East branch or Northeast campus library versus seeing all of those. So this is a system preference that you can, not a system preference, sorry, a staff permission you could set up. So let's look at Howard's staff permissions. Okay. There's my Howard. Under permissions, I have a new permission set up that here under borrowers, add, modify, view patron information. I have view patron info from any libraries. If not set, the logged in user could only access patron info from its own library or groups of libraries. So if I checked this, then he could see all the patrons. If this is unchecked, he would only be able to see his. So let's go ahead and I will just make sure if I go to my library, here I'm as a super librarian, so I have all of the same branches that, because I don't actually have that unchecked, I have it checked as a super librarian. So I had a question about facets. Let me see. If it was a facet. I don't believe it is a facet, but I'm going to double check. The holding libraries will still show up as just a holding library, not a facet.
And Kelly has a question. If you're unable to see the patron information in another group, can you still check out anything to them?
If you couldn't search for their patron information, so if you had a library card, you could probably scan that. That would be a good test, Kelly, to see. Since I can't actually search for patrons outside of my group, I wouldn't be able to find you, but I do wonder if I had a barcode to scan a library card. No, I still don't think that would be possible, but we could look into that. I would like to say that if your library is using independent branches and have that set up that you prevent staff from modifying or changing other libraries' information, this currently does not work if you have that set independent branches set up. I would say that this is completely new, and I think there's at least, I can find that bug, or Andrew or Donna can find that bug. There's at least one other bug right now about hierarchical groups in the community. So I feel as though this is a growing feature and not one that's complete at this point. I would like to see independent branches be allowed, as well as using this as well. Please do look if it's, yes. Well, should we try? I don't have a, let's look. Might as well, right? Richard Belding. I'm going back to Howard. So that is a no. You cannot circulate to patrons in other groups if you do use this hierarchical group and use that staff permission that they can't view or modify patron information as a staff permission. Howard cannot circulate to another person outside of his group. Good questions. We're good, Donna? No more questions?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. Maybe you saw it when I was over here. I think all of you are really quick to see new changes, but within our patron records, we can now merge patrons. Woo, woo. We have the ability to merge patrons. So I was trying to think of a scenario when you would do this. Maybe if you were joining libraries, or you accidentally created a second patron with the same name, or you had a student category and you had a local category, and then they're not a student anymore and they're just a local, and you wanted to combine them, or as somebody said, multiple online registrations and in consortiums. And I actually want you to know that duplicate patrons are matched on exact first name, last name. And I saw a library had a first name and the initial in the first name and then the last name. So unless they put that initial in that first name, last name combo, it did not come as a duplicate. So you need an exact match for duplicate patron records. So this is not what I would call a true merge in the cataloging sense. So any of the catalogers are out there are just imagining how cataloging merging works. Patron merging doesn't work quite the same way. So if you were in your system and you needed to merge patrons, you could go ahead and search. Now you can see I have 2 Gary Williams. You see how I got a duplicate because one was spelled with 2 R's. And I think this one was probably an online registration. I have this merge selected patrons at the screen as well. It's not something I can click at this moment, but if I click multiple boxes, then this will show up and I can go ahead and hit that merge selected patrons. So I can go ahead, I can see I have 5 checkouts under Gary. I owe $50. So I'm going to go ahead and hit merge. So similar to cataloging merging, you get to choose your patron to keep or your host patron to keep. Any other data will be transferred over to this record, and that patron record will be deleted. It will bring over checkouts, fines, holds, and staff messages. Let me actually go, let's go back. If he has a hold. Yes, it will. I actually even think, oh, you can see. Oh, look at my little, I'm glad I went over here. Okay, so Gary has a hold. Gary has 5 checkouts. Message. Okay, now let's merge them now that we've looked. And we're gonna go with the other one. We're gonna go with the less populated one. Not that this is what libraries would do, but we're gonna go ahead and go merge. So I'm gonna choose to take this one. It does give me a nice little summary of what was transferred. So it says that it all went into my Gary with 2 R's, Williams, account lines got transferred, restriction got transferred, checkouts, message, and hold. And then I can go ahead and hit the view patron record. There is no undo. Nope. We got asked if there was an undo to this. There is not that I saw. So you can see now my Gary with 2 R's has his address and phone number filled in. He has his hold. I do want to say that, Christopher, we were thinking about what permissions or the developers were thinking about. This is not something that every librarian is going to be able to. There's 2 things that we can say that are your fail-safe in that way. So let's go ahead and go back to my search patrons. Let's go by browse last name of A. If I say, let's see, let me get lots more. If I hit a select all, I cannot merge. My merge is not showing up. Koha's like, this is, I don't know if Koha is saying this is too many or this is not okay to merge this many patrons. So this merge function is not going to show up if they hit a select all when they're searching patrons. And there is also a permission to block this feature if that's what you want to call it. If we go into this patron account and we go into permissions, this was not something that was easily found in the developer notes. You have to, as a staff member, have the permission in tools called add, edit, delete patron lists and their contents. So if this is not checked marked, they cannot do the merge patrons. So there is a staff permission that is connected to that. I had a question about multiple. I think I could do 3. I feel like I tried a couple more, like 5, 3. Let's go to the B again. So let's do 1, 2. Let's go to 4. Merge is still there. 5, 6. Yep. I think it's that online. I'm not online. I'm thinking about online. I think it's that select all that's going to be your fail-safe. I've got some Got some librarians sweating in there, Donna. People are getting nervous. But again, it's a staff permission. If they're so if your staff doesn't have permission to do patron lists, there is, let me go backwards. There is no check marks here. If this was, if I was a staff member that did not have that patron list function, I have no check marks here, and I see this, but it's grayed out. So that's something to think about. Okay. Any other questions?
No, we had the question about permission. So again, remember it's a permission.
Mm-hmm.
And is that permission turned on by default, Kelly, or off?
Well, it's a permission you've set up in your staff. So it's not something you can turn, you would have to go and see what, what staff members have that permission in their workflow. And then that's under tools, add modified patron lists. I wonder how granular do they get? Yes, it is an existing permission. How granular can they get in reports? Can we write a report for that, do you think, Andrew? We'll find out. Maybe that's a way to run a report to see who has that permission. A couple of things that I just want to show that, oh, there is a permission audit report. Yes. So if anyone is interested in that, we'll put that in the Q&A on our website on how to see which staff members have that permission. Thank you, Marty. Oh, great. I got a yes, please. You got it. Okay. Andrew said it's doable, but it's wonky. Okay. A couple things that I'm not going to sit on for very long, but I'm so excited. Messages now show up in the detail screen. So you can see we always had those messages when you're in a checkout screen about my water bottle over here. But now when you're in the detail screen, that message now shows up, which is so exciting for me. I think it's exciting. You also now have the ability to see the borrower number in that little square box above the tabs. So instead of having to go to the detail screen and look at this borrower number or go up to your URL, your borrower number is now in the patron little box up here, which I'm really excited about. A couple awesome things in accounting or your fines feature. There is a new authorized value called payment_type that you can add values to on how your patrons are paying their fines. So if I went ahead and said, I'm going to pay this amount, I now have a little drop-down menu that I have this payment type. We had two libraries had these difficult reports they needed to do for their city or town, and this blew their mind. Like, how great is this going to be that we can say this is how much we took in cash and this is how much we took in credit card. So again, this is an authorized value, so you can put whatever values you want in here as part of your payment types. You can also, let's go ahead and hit cash, pay this amount. Oh, good, I got a yes. I got a yes with exclamation points. You also now have the ability to void payments. You can't void fines. You can't void write-offs, but if there was a payment that was created, you now have the ability to void it, and it will completely take it away from the screen. As you can see here, I've avoided credit card, but if I accidentally said it was a credit card as opposed to cash, so I did a credit card and then I voided it and put a cash. So that's great.
Kelly, George wants to know, is there a payment type added to PayPal payments through the OPAC?
Is this communicating through PayPal? Is that what you're asking? I don't believe so. I don't know, George. We don't have a PayPal account to set up, so I really don't know what users see, but if somebody has PayPal, could they tell me if they see it? So George, you'd want to know if I went into my OPAC and hit pay, I could choose my payment type there, I wonder, or if I paid through PayPal, when it came over to the staff client, does it say it's coming through a credit card? Probably the latter question.
George is going to let us know after we upgrade. So, but he said the second one.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Georgette is asking, could you explain the details button by the write-off?
Sure. So if I go to my details, it just kind of goes to a little bit more information. Somebody's really excited, so I can see the date, the fine, the description. Let's see if there's another one that I can look at that has more information. So this was the actual description of the charge. And then I actually can see anything that's attached to it. So it was a $40 charge. I don't owe anymore. What librarian did it? When it happened? The amount. So it gives you just more of a snapshot. I know that a lot of people are not a huge fan of this screen. It gets kind of wonky and crazy in the account screen. So this gets you the ability to see it a little bit more clearly. Yes, it will be incredibly useful for a lot of libraries. I had a question about, can you void a credit? You cannot void a credit. It's just the payments, as far as I know. Let's see. You cannot void a credit either. No.
Okay, we got lots of questions coming in, and then we've got an answer from Micah about PayPal. So first of all, what's the difference between reverse and void?
Well, void, I think, completely takes it off. Like there's no, like you see how it's zeroed? If I hit void, something different happens. It just took it completely off too. Let's see. Oh, I hit void. You mean reverse?
Yes.
Reverse, okay. Did I hit reverse that last time? No, I hit void. There you go. So the voided completely comes off. This reversed has a negative and a positive. So it's kind of, in my accounting world, voided, but you have that positive negative, and in the reversed, you have it balancing out to a zero. Void just shows zero. It doesn't even show the amount they did pay originally.
And then do we know which table in the database the fine details information comes from?
So the payment type? Oh, the fine details?
Yeah, back in the details. Do we know what table that one comes from?
No.
Oh, account offsets. Andrew already jumped on that one.
Okay, account offsets.
And then for everyone that hasn't seen it, Micah says that they use PayPal, and in 1711, a PayPal shows PayPal in the note field, but they haven't had one since they upgraded last week. So they're one of our advanced testers, so they're already on 1805. So Micah, we can't wait to see what happens when you give that a shot and let everyone know. We'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Early adopters?
Early adopters, thank you.
You're welcome.
Couldn't think of the words.
Remember in 1711, account offsets came to the point where you could run a report into your account offsets and see this kind of information through a report. And now we have more information that we can actually see on the accounting screen through that detail screen versus running a report. So this is definitely exciting. Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Andrew. What a team. Okay, a couple of holds that we have coming up. If anyone is using the holds to pull list, which would be like a single branch library, there is now the ability to mark something lost from the holds to pull list. So if I ran my holds to pull list, I could actually, oh, they're not there anymore. Oh no, I have to change the date. I can actually say, I went to the shelf, it's not there, I need to mark this lost, and I can notify the patron. So this is a system preference, two system preferences, called, I don't know if we have to have more lost holds. Can mark holds to pull as lost and update item when lost from hold list. Those are the two system preferences. And Koha has created a notice because, as you can see, you can actually notify the patron that I'm sorry that the item you placed on hold is now, it's lost and we can't find it. So it takes a little bit of stress off the front of the circulation desk. So this is one system preference, can mark holds to pull as lost. Allow to mark items as lost and notify the patron. If you just wanted to be able to mark it lost straight up without the notification, you can do that, and then you can have a do not allow. At this point, it's only on the holds to pull. And then the other system preference that ties into this is update item. So this looks a lot like update not for loan status at check-in. So we're going to take a pair of this item lost and what status. So again, remember you have a lot of different lost statuses. You have your lost, missing, long lost, overdue. So what authorized value code is that? And then finally, with all this, so let me go back to show you. So we just verify what it looks like again. If we do the holds to pull, we go to the shelf, we can't find something, we can actually say this is lost, and we can hit notify patron. Mark lost and notify patron. Oh, poor Gary. We don't have an email address defined, but let's go over to tools. And this notice is called cancel hold on list, cancel underscore hold underscore on list right here. So it's pretty much saying your hold has been canceled. Your first name, last name, and this, again, you can adjust if you want. There must be something off about this notice because it gave me a weird error to see what happened there. Questions?
Yes, we actually have two. One for right now. George is asking, when does the notice to the patron trigger for with this one that you're working on? Is it when one copy is marked as lost, missing, or is it when all copies are marked as lost and missing?
This is a good question. This feature will only be allowed to be used if it is an item level hold. So maybe that changes a little bit your question. It will not go back to, if it's a bib level hold, it will not allow you to mark it lost. If it has to be an item level hold. And I don't know when it sends out, so I can find out when. Donna, do you know when this notice gets sent out?
I'm guessing it's going to be whenever the message queue processes, so probably every 15 minutes for most locations. But we'll have to look into that one to see.
I think we have one here. So we have the ability to mark this item lost and notify the patron, but not this shark one. Donna, you've been busy. Because it's a biblio level hold. So because it's not a specific item, you could look for other items with that same title that you could fill instead of marking it lost. So it is only going to be that item specific.
And then can you jump back real quick to the patron, to a patron display? Just click on Donna B. David is asking, on the details display in the patron view, there was another details button. And what does that one show? So I'm not quite sure which one.
Were we in finds? That?
Yeah, I'm not sure. In the find section, David, there's the details. There is that one. But on the details.
Okay, yep. So I'm in the account tab, and that's where you would see the details. So that's the details of the fine accounting portion.
Okay.
He just wanted to know. He just wanted to know where that was, Donna?
Yes, he just had a question what that one was, yeah. And right, Walter, so if it's a biblio level hold, you cannot mark it lost from the holds queue. You'd have to go in like you normally do to actually pull that individual barcode and mark it lost through the cataloging or through whichever method you use. But you can't mark a bib level hold as lost through the holds queue.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to jump over to cataloging to show a few enhancements or features in the cataloging module, which I know you've all patiently been verified. Donna's correct about message queue every 15 minutes. Andrew is confirmed. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. One of the bigger features that we have in cataloging is the ability to configure the fields in the cataloging details when you're in the acquisition basket. So when you're adding items to your acquisition basket, you can actually now determine what fields you want to see there. So with the introduction of this, Koha has created a new acquisition framework. And it is the framework, what you create in the framework, which will show in the details. So I'm going to start on the opposite ends and show you what I mean. So I'm going to go to acquisitions first, and then we'll work backwards to go into the framework so you can see. This may not be something that add something to the basket. So if I went ahead and this is going to show up in two places. If I use the add order to basket, and by using a new empty record, I'm going to actually see how this feature is highlighted. So from a new empty record, these cataloging details prior to 1805, you had, these were hard coded. So you could put in the ISBN, I think you could put in publisher, title, author, and maybe one or two others. We had librarians that wanted to be able to determine what catalog details they were going to fill out in this catalog detail screen versus just the others, if they wanted to put any notes on it, because again, we're just creating a new blank record. So what information we have about the item we'd like to be able to put in. What if it was, it had an 022, not an 020? You could never put that in prior to now. So if this is something that you're interested in seeing, to be able to determine what catalog details, so this is, you would use this if you were using that new empty record or purchase suggestions when you're adding things to your order. So you can see here, I do have the 0220, I have a local note field, and this is coming from my acquisition framework. So let me go over to my administration, go over to my MARC bibliographic framework, and I have this acquisition structure here. So whatever I put in my acquisition framework will populate in that catalog detail page. Good to note, when I first did this, I actually just copied the entire default framework into my acquisition framework and I broke it. So don't do that. I did create a bug saying that it broke. What I also did for this feature is a lot of libraries won't have this framework, and instead of you doing this work, there is a Koha wiki page for frameworks. If maybe Donna or Andrew can find that page, I have actually put the framework CSV file on there that you can just import into your framework and create one here. So you can go ahead and either take away some of these fields. If you're never going to use that 590, you could certainly get rid of it, but whatever is showing here in your framework will show up in that cataloging detail in your acquisition. So this is a great feature for libraries that are doing a lot of blank empty records, but actually want to have more details showing about the item during that acquisition process. Okay, another acquisition feature. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew put that in. There is an acquisition framework CSV you can download. Also in the acquisition module, there is a way to map the 245B and N to your acquisitions. So if you were, and this comes up into play, and I never thought of it this way, but if you were creating a basket and you had to order second copies or replacements of things, and that item was called Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, what is it, Old Rock and Roll or something. Your 245 might just be Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and then you can't actually see what's in the B to know which one you want to order. So if I say I want to order it from an existing record, and this is, oh, I can't remember, what did I put? Hold on. Dork Diaries. Dork Diaries. Prior to 1805, and there's a little setup involved in this, you could actually only see this part of it. So you could never see which one you were ordering. You could just see it's a Dork Diary, but you'd have to then go into the actual record and see which Dork Diary it was. So now there's ability to say, hey, show me the B and the N, if I wanted to, through that, mark mapping, keyword to mark mapping. So I'll show you where you can do that. So if we go into the administration module, and this is so helpful as we have all these, series and trilogies to know which is which in our catalog here in the acquisition module. So here I have, this is why I can see my 245B, and if I wanted to add my 245N, which is the number of it, I could just do there. I put my N in there, so now let's go back. And you can see I can have a 490 in there. There I have this one, this 4, okay. This 4 is from the N, this 4 is from the 490V, but at least you can see it. So you may not need to add both of those, or I didn't find a lot of records using the N as their numbering sequence, but so it's good to know you can use the 490V, the 245B, and the 245N here, and be able to see the full title of the 245s when you're placing those orders and acquisitions. Okay, Any other questions? Those catalogers seem kind of quiet. Oh, I see one.
So George is asking, he noticed in the acquisitions framework there were columns for indicators. Is that new?
This is, my goodness, George, can you read my documents back here? That's what's next. There is now the ability to configure default indicators in your framework. So yes, George, I knew people were watching my screen. If you're in your Mark framework, so you can allow to configure your indicators for specific Mark fields. So yep, here I have indicator 1 and indicator 2. I'm not a true cataloger. I did do cataloging for 2 years, but I would not call myself a true cataloger. I struggled with what possibly people would use this for. For my example, I know that with Koha, for the series information to show up, you would want an indicator of, in the first place, of 1 in your 490. So I went ahead and, let's go to my 490. So if I went in and said, okay, I definitely want the indicator to always be a 1 in my first place, I can go to that 490. Now I'm not going to go to subfields. I'm actually going to go to edit here. And I'm going to go ahead and add that value of 1 in my first indicator. So now, once I do that, and I go to catalog an item, using the same framework I put that default indicator in, I now have that 1 indicator already set up. So yeah, this is pretty cool. So you can do that any framework that's available that you have. So you can just do it with a specific framework that you are cataloging a specific type that you always want a default indicator, or you can do the default if it's the default framework for a default indicator if you're always needing that there. Yep, it's pretty cool. Okay, we have a couple of new features in our serials module, which I can say they haven't gotten a lot of love lately, so I feel great for the serials module. There is a blog post of these as well on our website already. I just kind of bulked them together because there were a few that I just thought that I would just go ahead and highlight. One of the new features is the ability to batch renew subscriptions. So I can go ahead and say, oh, I want to renew all these. And like so many libraries, I think we all have our subscriptions all expire in January or December, and we want to renew them all. So if I go into my check expiration here in my serials module, and I say I want to, I think I've renewed these a few times, so let's go ahead and just look at everything that's expiring before 2020. I can see what is going to expire before a specific date, and I have the ability to just go ahead and renew all of them. So that saves a lot of time instead of going into each of them separately. Okay, pretty cool. Renew. If I renew them again, they're going to just keep going. That's okay. And they've been renewed. Another great feature is you can batch edit subscriptions. So if you were in a subscription and you needed to go ahead and batch modify, this looks a lot like the batch item modification. Well, actually, no, it looks a lot like course reserves where you go and change these, but you can literally go and say, okay, these have all changed to a different location. These are all going to reference, and they're all, no, not messing up, and they're all going to go to magazine. So this allows you to put a public note, non-public note, change the expiration date that way, change the vendor, and go ahead and save. So again, if there was a reason that you needed to go and batch, and I get a little error, batch edit the subscriptions. What did I do? Let's not change all of these. Okay, well, I'll find out why I'm getting an error on that screen. We can batch edit subscriptions. I think that I always wait for the last one to show up. The last really big feature to show up in cataloging last for this section, because I think it's the coolest. Who uses Z39.50? I think a lot of people do, or do they kind of, oh, Vicky, thank you. Oh, yay, yay. In now using Z39.50, the view is a little different, and I want to tell you, I like it. And I wonder what it will look like on your screen, because what's that one word, just Harkness? And because my screen is pink, I don't know what yours is going to look like when it's highlighted, but it's pretty darn cool. The look of your Z39.50 has changed. Now, instead of those 3 columns where it says, Mark, ISBD and import, you now have an action column, and it makes it yellow. So if any early adopters out there notice, is yours yellow? Because prior to this, it was just a darker gray. And it was hard to communicate that to people when you say, okay, the one you just looked at is a dark gray versus all the others, which is a light gray. But now it makes it nice and pretty that you have this drop-down menu versus all those columns, and it really, really emphasizes which one you're looking at. Everything else is pretty much the same, Art Preview. But I like the yellow with my pink. I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, moving on, because we've got a few things in reports and one thing in notice before we wrap up. So I want to make sure I get everything out to you guys. Notices. Now, just like I want to say the hierarchical groups, this is just the tip of what the functionality I hope is coming with notices. But there now are a few notices set up that you can actually preview what they're going to look like when you create them. I think Kelly would be happy to see this. You can actually preview check-in, check-out, and hold slips right now. So here's my check-in. If I go ahead and edit this, I actually can preview what this is going to look like. Now mine is not like a really dramatically, really cool looking notice where there's a lot of information. Let me grab my barcode. You can see data for preview. I need to enter information here. For the check-in, I just need the barcode of the item. For checkout, I need, I'm gonna hit this preview button. So I entered the barcode here. There's my notice. I'm gonna hit that preview button. This item is not checked out. Oh. We're modeling the SelfCheckin module and checked it in. Bum, 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 bum. I owe too much money. Hold on.
You are such a bad library patron, Miss Kelly.
Kelly's always getting beat up on the fines. Okay. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, now let's do it. Sorry about that. Anyway, notice they're exactly the same. So here I have the original, and this is what it would look like when it gets sent to my patron. We can see that on check-in, checkout, and hold slip. I think, what information do you have to put in for a hold slip? Biblio number and borrower number. So this is a great feature that hopefully we'll be able to see more notices coming up, because I know a lot of libraries like to see what their notices are before they sent, just in case they made a HTML error possibly. So this is a great new feature. My internet.
Questions?
Yep.
So George is asking, what was the converted notice in the preview?
What is the?
And I believe that one is just where it changes, and don't laugh, y'all, from the hungry alligators to the actual proper brackets, I believe. Yeah, you're on hold, so yeah.
I've ruined all my all my triggers because I was messing around with holds and everything.
Yeah, so basically what that's doing is right now the language is set up using the double brackets, and the converted notice is the one that's using the
template toolkit.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was trying to come up with.
However, so I don't think it's necessary. The converted version is not necessary. I think you can stick to the original version. This is what it's
correct.
Yeah.
It's just depending on which one you want to use or if you want to switch them over, I think is what it comes down to, George. I think that that's something that is kind of moving forward as we go. So I think that's something that was put in place for future kind of development holding spots. So great. And then the other question was that Christopher Brandon says he noticed that you didn't have to specify payment type when you were paying off all your bad girl fines.
Yes, yes.
That's mandatory.
Oh, can we make it mandatory? I don't know. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay, we'll definitely look into that. Oh, Marty says yes.
With JavaScript. Okay. Okay, we'll find out what that can be. Great. If we have the code, Kyle, we'll definitely share it on our Q&A. Thank you, Marty. Perfect. I love the early adopters. Woo! You guys are getting in there. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we have a few in reports, and
yeah.
Marty, you said it, not me. I have a few things in reports, and I don't want to not talk about. So let me pop over to our reports. And again, remember, we're having another one of these. This will be recorded. If you feel as though I'm going too fast, we also will have individual modules when we'll talk about more cataloging and more patrons and circ that we weren't able to talk about in this hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes. There's also a new look for our reporting area. So you can see our guided reports got a little bit bigger. You can search by keyword right here. You can go right to your saved. I love this. This is amazing. Now, there's two things that I want to show you. If anyone is, one of the features, one of the changes for reports have come where if you put in parameters in your reports and you actually put that parameter in a few different places in your report, and so when you run it, you have to fill out, like, my holding branch is the same on all these. And I have to fill them out every time that parameter needs to be filled out. Now, actually, the report will fill that parameter in for you. So I had a little help with my, my report to create one to show you what I'm talking about. So here, this report said, select everything from my items where the home branch And then I'm going to have a drop down, and then bring together, select everything from the deleted, where the home branch, and pick your home branch. So now if I run the report, I'm only going to be asked my home branch one time instead of having to fill that out twice. So now we have this feature that allows parameters to be reused in reports. A lot of report speak there. There's that. Oh, I got a yay. Thanks, Christopher. Yay. But I actually think this one's way more cool. So if you think that's exciting, they'll work either way. It will work. It won't change. You don't need to change any of your reporting, I don't think. Andrew can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're fine that it will just do it for you. Oh, I gotta love this. I'll find out. Do we have to change existing reports, Andrew? While he looks up that. Oh, but somebody's going to change them. But there's no change on how you write it. Great. But can I point out to everybody? Yep, great. He said it's just how you write it. It's just the way it runs. Can I now point out this report that I've created now has this batch modify right here. So now if I wanted to grab everything from this report and bring it over to batch modify, I can. I'll wait for the hands, the hallelujah. This is so exciting. So now when you are in the report, you can now send, if you have an item number column in your report, that is what's going to initiate that batch modify button. So now you can go ahead, run a report, make sure you have that item number, and you can batch modify from there. Just an easy click.
So is there a way to turn that batch modify off through the reports?
We could probably hide it. There's nothing that turns that on or off. So you could not have your report have an item number if you don't need the item number. I don't know if a lot of reports, if somebody doesn't have batch modification permissions, ooh, maybe Marty's saying if somebody doesn't have batch modification permissions, does it gray it out? Yeah, so you would have to be able to run reports but not have batch modification permissions. I'm going to test that out, Marty. Thank you.
Yeah, George, we'll go ahead and see how bad we can mess up our catalog and let you know.
Yes. Batch modify is not generally connected to the item number field. It is connected to the barcode. So when you go to batch modify items, you're going to pull in the barcode or an item number, actually, either one. So this is using the item number. Yeah, we'll mess up ours. You can see I already got software errors from whatever I did. you know. Okay, two more things. Oh, maybe just barcode. Let's take off. Let's get rid of the barcode and let's get rid of let's just do select barcode. Let's see how much I can mess this SQL up. This is another feature, now that I'm in here, that I hit save, and I'm still in the screen, so I could easily, thank you, update. I don't leave the screen when I hit this update button, and now I can go right to run, so I don't have to wait for that other screen to show up, which I like. It's streamlined. Nope, it must be item number. It must be driven by the item number. there are one other thing for reports. I showed you the continue. If I go to my saved reports, I can now configure my columns. Actually, it's two things. I can now configure my columns. Let me get rid of my keyboard. So I can get rid of columns I don't want to see on this grid, which is fun. You actually see these 4 or 5 buttons in a couple different places within the patrons. I know I see it within the reports, and I think in the checkouts, you're going to see these 5 buttons show up. And then one last thing, in your reports, your items lost reports now can be downloaded. So that's pretty cool because I know a lot of people use that. And you're going to get the same options at the top on this one too. So now I can actually send that to a CSV copy, print it, which you couldn't do before. It was just a screen view of your lost items. See how many changes happen with just one release? It is crazy town. I can say that we have added 2, 4, 6, 8. I think we've added 20 new system preferences, which I've touched upon some. We'll get more further into depth on other ones when we talk about more module specifics. But again, this is where I say I encourage you to go look at the release notes and see if anything has changed. You know that there's a new authorized value. There's a new notice that cancel hold on lost. So there's a lot of new fun things. I apologize I went a little bit over, but does anyone have any questions? I know that, no, thank you. I know we found some great questions that we as educators will go ahead and answer and put on the Q&A. If you think of anything afterwards, please don't hesitate to send us, and we will be happy to add that or answer that for you as this information starts to percolate. Who do we contact for more in-depth questions on new features? We are having all our modules will be more in-depth on, like, say, on your OPAC, we're going to have 2 more 1-hour webinars. In reports admin, we're going to have 2 1-hour more reports. We're adding blog posts, but feel free if you want to ask more specific questions. Anybody, go ahead and submit a ticket, and we'd be happy to help you with that process. That's what we're here for. And if your question might be something that we'll need to have a blog post on too. Scheduling upgrades in the month of November. So that is coming soon. It will happen the month of November. I don't have specific dates yet. Great, thank you. No, thank you. I'm so glad everyone could take time out of their busy schedule and watch this. Please